I think South Africa's lessons to the world today is both in how you fight for justice. Even in the fight for justice, Nelson Mandela never demonized and denigrated the opponents.
On the issue of conflicts today, like particularly in the Middle East, so what role should countries like Indonesia and South Africa play to promote, to encourage peace in the world?
We have a particular duty to not only call for peace, to mediate for peace. We cannot leave that to the superpowers, because the superpowers will fashion peace in their own image. We want diplomacy to win. We must be more aggressive in our diplomacy. Not aggressive in militarism, but aggressive in our diplomacy.
Saudara, saya bersama seorang tokoh penting yang perjalanan hidupnya erat dengan perjuangan melawan apartheid dan pembentukan Afrika Selatan modern. Dari kiprahnya sebagai aktivis anti-apartheid hingga menjadi Premier Western Cape, dan beliau juga sempat menjadi Duta Besar Afrika Selatan untuk Amerika Serikat di tahun 2025. Ebrahim Rasool selalu ada di garda terdepan, di garis terdepan dalam berbagai isu, mulai dari isu keadilan, rekonsiliasi, hingga diplomasi global. Mr. Ebrahim Rasool, thank you for your time. It's such an honor for us to have you here. How are you today?
Thank you very much to you for doing this, and I'm very good, happy to be in Indonesia. This is the land of my ancestors, who 300 odd years ago were brought to Cape Town by as slaves and exiles of the Dutch. And so coming here, it's like a spiritual journey. So I'm very good.
Wonderful. So let me begin with the broader picture. You've witnessed the transition from division to democracy in South Africa. In today's increasingly polarized world, from your perspective, what lessons from South Africa post-apartheid journey remains most relevant for the world today?
I think South Africa's lessons to the world today is both in how you fight for justice, as well as the transition from apartheid to democracy, as well as what you do after democracy. And so even in the fight for justice, Nelson Mandela never demonized and denigrated the opponents. He never mobilized racism as a way to fight whites and white supremacy. So that we always were aware that even our enemies were humans and that we need to redeem them. And then in the transition, it was very important for someone like Nelson Mandela to make sure that he never threatened the existence of whites so that they could become part of the transition, but they could not be the senior partners in a transition and in a post-apartheid South Africa. And then finally, he put together a constitution which fundamentally guaranteed individual human rights and not necessarily group rights, and that everyone was not just going to enjoy peace, but also justice, because the foundation of peace must be justice. And so that was the way in which I think we managed to go through. But we also need to hold people accountable for their evil. And so we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, in which those who participated in the horrors of apartheid should be given the chance to confess, to tell the truth, and to be forgiven. And if they did not do that, they needed to face the full might of the law. And so accountability, justice, peace, and humanization were absolutely critical concepts in the South African journey.
Okay, so Indonesia and South Africa are both global South. We both have histories of resistance. We're both part of the spirits of non-aligned movement. In today's global geopolitical situations, do you see that non-aligned stance is still effective or still realistic?
Non-alignment is absolutely critical, particularly today when superpowers do what they want to do, and then they want to force you to stand with them, even when they do injustice. And so part of the journey to Indonesia is to rediscover the spirit of Bandung. 1955, our leaders came here, convened by President Sukarno.
Yeah. Asia Afrika.
And we got inspiration out of here, and we got a vision for how the world could be. Independent, autonomous, non-interference, non-intervention. Even if you disliked other countries, you did not have the right for aggression. And so that's the spirit of Bandung that the world needs today. And that's what we come together as middle powers to see how we can utilize that. Because you cannot follow Russia into a war with Ukraine, and you cannot follow the USA into a war with Iran, and you cannot follow Israel in a genocide of Palestine. And so we need to be non-aligned so that we can remain objective, we can stand for justice, we can identify peace, and we can hold accountable those who do wrong. And so that Bandung led to the non-aligned movement, and that non-aligned movement is absolutely crucial in today's world of conflict.
On the issue of conflicts today, like particularly in the Middle East, so what role should countries like Indonesia and South Africa play to promote or to encourage peace in the world?
I think countries like Indonesia and South Africa, who have long histories of resistance and liberation struggles, who have had difficult transitions, even bloody transitions, and who have fought hard to remain democratic, human rights focused, and freedom loving. We have a particular duty to not only call for peace, we have the experience and the expertise to mediate for peace. We cannot leave that to the superpowers, because the superpowers will fashion peace in their own image. What we need to do is to say, where there is conflict, how can South Africa, how can Indonesia and middle power countries intervene in mediation, in conflict resolution, and in imagining a new statecraft. So we can't wait for Iran to be destroyed. We need to move in there and to be able to say to Iran, this is our experience, and this is how you can become democratic, how you can become human rights focused and give everyone their rights. And we can go even into the USA and we can say to Donald Trump, what you are doing is not right. You are making things worse, and you are using your superpowers in order to create havoc in the world, and we can't stand by to do that. We must be able to speak the truth both ways.
Okay, so with ongoing conflicts in different regions, do you still believe that diplomacy is still effective?
There is no alternative to diplomacy. It may be weak, it may be ineffective, it may even be ignored. But imagine we all picked up weapons and we started killing each other. Only the mighty will win. Diplomacy is the weapon of the poor and of the weak. And it must speak with a moral clarity. Because this is the way of every faith, every religion. This is the way of every ideology. And we must be able to show, and the world is open to it. The way the world was waiting to see how will the negotiations between Iran and the United States go in Pakistan. The world is saying, we want diplomacy to win. And so we can't give up on diplomacy. We must be more aggressive in our diplomacy. Not aggressive in militarism, but aggressive in our diplomacy.
Last but not least for me, if you could give a piece of advice to young leaders in Global South, what would it be?
I want to say to young leaders in the Global South that you can't be lost in your social media. You can't be lost in your devices. You can't be disinterested in the world, because the kind of world you are disinterested in will be the world that you will inherit. And therefore, we need you to step up and become leaders, not only in your discipline, not only in your profession, not only in your career, not only in your school or in your mosque. You've got to become young leaders for society and for the world. And you've got to read beyond social media. You've got to be aware of what's going on. And you've got to formulate your opinions, not your emotions only. Your emotions are important, but they have to be the foundation of your opinions and your thoughts and your intellect. And if you can master that, then you step up to the plate to lead. Because if you don't lead, you leave it to those of us who are older, who have grudges, who have bad memories of the past, who are wounded, who carry the scars of our past battle. You make us the people who shape the world. Whereas you who are young, innocent, moral, and ethical, you've got to step up to lead the world. There's no alternative but to go out and organize. We learned that in South Africa. We had a slogan that says, organize or starve. If you don't organize, you will be killed. You will die, you will be starved. And that is the challenge to all of you. Nelson Mandela was very clear. You must work out what is so valuable that you will die for it, because then you know what you must live for.
Thank you so much for your insight, Mr. Rasool.
Thank you.
It's such a wonderful conversation we have. We hope that your perspective could continue to inspire a collaboration between nations. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much.